Yo, Yamamo, Aquaba Shronkoso, Edeba POG Media semester. So be subscribe na wa like Jumedino, Edia my obetiment so share Jumedino, not one for and so and sa akabi. Kindly click on the notification bell no so send a bear. Any news be out to platform no so I won't so one who dear air call and the air. But young Quentin near fan some do na no any the embre why a ball at the era and the June 4th Jumedia and a call so now we and a year Dr. a year Zenator a year Rawlings a year Yame Enfani Kra in see year Papa Jerry John Rawlings a year ba mene why day wakasa na okasa ye no de nsem bebra tudwa abra na omo celebrity eye June 4th aye na Dr. Zenator enso edi nsem dodo na ye de tudwa abra na okakaye ewo dwumadi stronko a aye ne papa edi ye no yenko ne konkuti abra na omo hye sa afan ya Dr. Zenator edi nsem dodo na aye de tudwa
Choboy National Chairman, General Secretary, senior comrades, honorable members of Parliament here present, representatives of our assemblies, Neneme, Naname, my brothers and sisters, the media. Today we're gathered here to commemorate the 46th anniversary of the June 4th uprising. I was just 1 year old by then. I just celebrated my 47th birthday. And our General Secretary just celebrated his 58th birthday, so he's much older. At the time, in 1979, the average age of the ranks and the officers was probably around 30. If we look around now in the sub-region, the average leaders of the 5 countries in the Sahel region is about 43 years old, with Captain Traore of Burkina Faso being the youngest in his late 30s. My father, our late president, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, the founder of the NDC, the Fourth Republic, who was the chairman of the AFRC, who was the chairman of the PNDC, passed 5 years ago, just to give us a context on the passage of time. Now, love him or hate him, Papa J was a man who had the courage of his convictions. He was a man who took responsibility for his words and his actions, which is more than I can say for some people nowadays. Just 10 years ago, could we have imagined the domino effect of democratic reversals that we have witnessed? Could we have foreseen so many young people hailing a new wave of young military leaders in their respective countries? And yet here we are, June 4th, 2025, 46 years after the June 4th uprising of 1979, and it would appear that history is repeating itself. As one of the last countries that has not experienced the suspension of its constitution or a change in term limits by an incumbent, we must surely recognize the extremely privileged and sensitive position we find ourselves in as Ghanaians. Our democracy did not come cheap, and yet this period has endured several exchanges of power, at times on a knife's edge. 33 years of uninterrupted constitutional parliamentary democracy. One of the earlier speakers mentioned Jesus, and so I'll just make a side note to put what I'm about to say in context. If we've celebrated 33 years of our republic, the Fourth Republic, I think Jesus was 33 when he was crucified and when he rose again. As we embark on the unpredictable journey of constitutional review, we must hasten slowly. We must do so with the utmost caution, given the levels of insecurity and volatility that currently exist around us? How does Ghana restore hope and democracy to the millions of young Africans who are now so inspired by the new wave of military-led governments in Africa? Youth who have become cynical and disillusioned with years of poor governance hidden behind a veil of superficial democratic rule. What do our youth want? The word youth is becoming an abstract concept, even though it is the proverbial elephant in the room. The youth, our young people, are not a homogeneous group, and we must be careful not to pigeonhole our youth. Africa has the youngest population in the world, with over 400 million people between the ages of 15 and 35 years old. This demographic dividend can contribute towards peace, security, and truly inclusive and sustainable development. Of course, this would require socio-economic investment driven by political will to improve our developmental index as a country and as a continent. And this is why the NDC government is driving several youth development policies and programs, which is also in recognition of the African Union's Agenda 2063, the African Youth Charter, and the UN Resolution 2250 on youth, peace, and security. Ladies and gentlemen, the UN Resolution 2250 was adopted in 2015 and recognized that the youth can play an important role in preventing and resolving conflicts, and in particular in stabilization, integration, and the success of peacekeeping and peace-building activities. This resolution on peace, security, was adopted by the UN Security Council and has the pillars of participation, protection, prevention, partnerships, and disengagement and reintegration as the role young men and women can play in promoting international peace and security, which are so topical right now. The UN Security Council Resolution 2419, which was adopted in 2018, calls for the full inclusion of young people in negotiation and implementation of peace agreements, but it also recognizes the importance of the greater participation of young people in decision making. As a people, we must promote good governance, access to justice, equitable access to resources for our youth, if we are to curb the trends in violent extremism and terrorism, which have become a costly and yet a profitable enterprise across the continent. Our youth are neither a threat to be contained nor a problem to be solved. Our youth are the sons and the daughters of Africa. True inclusivity gives the young men and women seats at the table as decision makers in the setting of our developmental agenda, as well as institutional reform with a vision into the future that meets their individual and collective aspirations. In other words, our youth, those who are the true representatives of Ghana and of the continent, must be directly involved in the formulation, design, implementation, and evaluation of policies and programs. Our young people are not window dressing, nor are they props to be brought in at the end of the cycle that they had no part in. Education, holistic, integrative, and futuristic. Access to finance, integration of artificial intelligence and
yo ofam you no Dr. Zenator toa so edin some dodo na to dwa efa eye June 4th ho ene ho kroneba na odin sem bebre to dwa na o chese hwe ne papa aye bi na NDC for ensoro waka na omonka omohumbom se ne be ya da bia no eye ne papa legacies a omuja no achi no eye nchirima so eba beto na omahunu de opapa eye de eye message on subscribe ya subscribe like jumedie no share abra ye ko ofam you no jumedie no ye pese eye enika semunti for adwenture the under the comment section nim my yanko
technology, mentorship, memorial and commemorative events such as this, removal of structural and institutional barriers to youth empowerment and participation are crucial to the peace, security, and stability of our country and our continent as a whole. It is said that when you see your neighbor's house on fire, you should get buckets of water and prepare. But I think it's good neighborliness when you see your neighbor's house on fire to go and put that fire out. You do it for them and you do it for you. And I speak about fire in your neighbor's house in the context of what is happening in the Sahel and in countries around us. Currently, Ghana is the last man standing, proverbially. And I hasten to sound a word of caution as we enjoy the peace and stability that was based on a foundation that was laid long before the Fourth Republic. Let us be mindful not to allow people to be catalysts to cause instability in the jurisdiction of our neighbors. Because when they fall, we fall. It is in our interest to promote peace, stability, and sustainable development in their countries in order for them to be set back onto a path onto democratization. Promoting peace and stability, de-escalating violence, and supporting inclusive development are key to creating an environment for these countries to assume this democratization and self-determination. We have a duty to lead by example by staying true to the tenets of good governance by promoting inclusivity, transparency, integrity, accountability, probity, timely and responsive interventions in an atmosphere of socio-economic and political justice for all and respect for our environment. My dear comrades, let us be mindful of the fact that every exception we make to the rule for the sake of political expediency is one less stone in the foundation of our democracy and one less pillar in the temple of good governance. And so let us adhere to the tenets of good governance, which also align with the ideals of the June 4 uprising, the 31st December Revolution, and of course our Fourth Republic. A luta continua. The struggle remains until the entire continent has dignity for all its citizens. We have to set that example by letting the others know that indeed democracy is the best option, which means we have to protect what we have by adhering to these tenets. Thank you very much. May God bless us all. And may we remember how we got here in order to chart our path into the future. Thank you.
Please, let's put our hands together for Zenator. Before I invite the General Secretary, let me again do some few acknowledgments. Comrade Fritz Bafo is here with us. Honorable Amote Kofi, former MP for Yilo Krobo, is also here with us. Comrade Vida Ade, Comrade David Dakoji, Comrade Alhaji Masaudu, Comrade Alhaji Doku, Comrade Kwamete Abwe Daka, German chapter and EU representative. Ibrahim Gausu, UK chapter, is also here. We would also take this opportunity to acknowledge some of our chiefs here and also thank Marigo TV again for taking this live.
Yeah, we also have the chiefs and queen mothers here to be recognized. We have Manye, Wange Manye, Angoko Yoko, the first development queen mother, Kehan Kulu, Wange Manye, Meya, Dom, Amanye, Wange Manye, Dewi Addo, the second, Eleji Agomenya, Jibiam Manye, Wange Manye, Yuche, Leji Akweno Mapon Manye, Wange Manye, Obonya, the second, Leji Pianwa Manye, Wange Manye Numo, Wange Nene, Numo Usum, Leji Dom, Osono, Leji Dom, Wange Nene Abui, Ne Etono Etene, Leji Salem, Wange Nene Lanu, Leji Pomuno Memlesi, Mache, Wange Nene Ahuma Bibi, Leji Susu, Mache, Wange Nene Kanteka Tete, Eti, Leji Akweno, Mache, Wange Alhassan Osmano, Leji Pom, Mache, Pom Zungu, Mache, Wange Nene Tete Akora, Leji Pianwa Division, Amache, Opalinge Nene Babite Nyako, Letono Enonye, Leji Pom Divisional Chief, Opalinge Nene Agbona Eyuele, Ne Leji Jebiam Divisional Chiefs.
Nyaminka on so watch Jumadi no abedu ese mi on kan on tre washim na onya okase. Jumadi no pompon so nyina ni ha na de Jumadi no ebesi e de amamu ntimi so ojebre na hwe Jumadi no efama ye yakram.